President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber will continue hearing the testimony of Sun Eng to the conclusion, and there is a reserved witness, 2 TCW 1060. Jie Siu Huang, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present, except Mr. Sun Arun, the National Co-Counsel for Mr. Nguyen Jie, who informed the chamber that he is absent today for personal reasons. Mr. Nguyen Jie is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to testify today, Sun Eng, is here with the duty counsel Soksuchieta. And today we have a reserved witness, 2 TCW 1060. Thank you very much, Mr. President. President, first, the chamber decides on the request by Nguyen Jie. The chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Jie dated 5th December 2016, which states that due to his health, headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his right to be present at the 5th December 2016 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nguyen Jie by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 5th December 2016, which notes that Nguyen Jie has a constant lower back pain when he sits for a long time, and the doctor recommends that the chamber should grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nguyen Jie his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. Every unit personnel are instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Jie can follow. This applies for the whole day. And the chamber wishes to ask about the time arrangement between the defense team for the two accused. So how do you arrange the time left for you? You have only half day, one session today to put question to the witness, and the case upon team will have the last opportunity to put questions to the witness.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President. I intend to use, I suppose, 2/3 of today's session, and the remaining time will be for the case upon team after the prosecution and civil party lead co-lawyers have finished their questioning.
Fine. Now you may proceed, counsel for Mr. Nguyen Jie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I would like to continue my questioning with you this morning. Last Thursday, we were speaking about Heng Samrin and So Pim, and So Pim's instruction to Heng Samrin to gather forces. I have a few follow-up questions in respect of Heng Samrin. At the time when So Pim gave his instruction to Heng Samrin was still the commander of the 4th Division. Is that correct?
Witness, that is correct.
Do you know who at that specific time was the second in command of the 4th Division? Who was Heng Samrin's deputy? Do you know?
I didn't know at the time his deputy. That was the only day that I met Heng Samrin. I did not know at the time other individuals.
But I thought you had told DC Cam, but correct me if I'm wrong, that you had seen Sopim meet Heng Samrin quite often. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand your testimony?
But if you're referring to a DC Chem testimony, perhaps you could give us the reference, then it's easy.
Yes, certainly. E3/10716, English ERN 013-53341, Khmer 013-40556, and French 013-45494. This is what the DC Cam statement says. Question at that time, was Ta Heng Samrin the chairperson of Division 4? And then you answered chairperson of Division 4. Question, did you bring the letters to him personally? And then you answer, I often had food and drink with him. You had food and drink with him? That's right. I ate meals face to face with him. Did he ever say anything? He even used to pick jackfruit and bring it to me. He used to, well, then it continues. So, Mr. Witness, this seems to suggest that you knew Heng Samrin quite well and that you met him more than this one time that he was instructed by Sopim to gather forces, correct?
When I lived there, I used to go to see him. And after the arrests were made by the Southwest, and from that time onward, had no time meeting him.
Let me return to my original question. Did you know who the number 2 of the 4th Division was?
At the time, I do not know clearly. No one told me. There was another person with me, accompanied those people. 2 of us, including me, were equipped with weapons at the time, and we went past the forest.
In your DC Cam statement, English ERN 013, actually it's the exact same pages as I just mentioned. When you talked about Heng Samrin, you also talk about someone named Kim, Heng Kim. We briefly discussed him last week as well. You said that Kim was chairperson of Division 5. Is it correct that Kim at one point in time was the deputy commander of Division 4 before he became commander of Division 5?
I did not know this individual in the past, but after I went through an incident, I learned that he was part of Division 5.
The reason I'm asking you is because of an excerpt in a book written by an Australian scholar, someone who recently testified in this courtroom as an expert. Just for completeness' sake, let me read that particular excerpt. Mr. President, I'll be referring to E3/10699, English euro and only 01335-197. And this is what this particular scholar wrote, and I will be asking if you have any reaction to it. He says, quote, according to a major from the National Army of Democratic Kampuchea, who had defected to Thailand in September 78 that is, Heng Samrin had attempted a coup against the government in Phnom Penh the previous April. However, the second in command of Heng Samrin's 4th Division, based at Kampong Cham, warned the government and the plot was crushed. Heng Samrin, who was said to have been part of a larger pro-Vietnamese group within the CPK, fled to Vietnam with some of his troops and weapons. Is that something that you ever heard, Mr. Witness? The second in command of the 4th Division betraying Heng Samrin and warning the government of an attempted coup d'etat?
But
I have never heard about that. I had already left. I did not know about that. That's all I can say.
Mr. Witness, I showed you a photo the last time that you were in this courtroom. This was a photo from a video, and I would like to show you the 9 seconds of this video that the photo was taken from, and I would like to ask you to have a look at this and ask you again if this time you are in a position to recognize that person. Mr. President, with your leave, I would like to put on the screen E3/3015R, minutes 1.51 up until minute 2, 9 seconds that we have prepared for this witness.
Yes, please proceed. And AV unit, please show the video clip requested by the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chia Kopa.
Mr. Witness, the very first person you saw in that clip who was raising his fist, is that Heng Samrin?
It is not clear to me. It happened a long time ago. My memory does not serve me well, so I would like to respond that it appears that I am not sure who he is.
Maybe one final question on this subject. The man that you saw raising his fist while addressing the crowd, does that man look like the person? Does he look like Heng Samrin, the one you saw being instructed by Sao Pim to gather forces?
Sorry, Councillor, I'm not sure I understand that. He said he doesn't know if it's Heng Samrin. So what exactly do you want to know now? Does he have a resemblance to Heng Samrin? Or what is the question aimed at?
Well, we firmly believe that it is Heng Samrin. He has met Heng Samrin on multiple occasions. My question is, does he resemble the Heng Samrin he knew? The person on the video clip, does he look like the person that he remembers as Heng Samrin? I agree it's a long shot, but...
President, Mr. Witness, this is a leading question. Please do not respond to the question. You yourself is testifying, and we have received the clear answer already from the witness.
As I said, it's not very important. I will move on, Mr. President. And let me now go to something you said last Thursday about Runim coming to visit Sao Pim, and I asked you to describe the house that they met, and you described it quite extensively as of 14 hours and 30 minutes. In the draft transcript, we can read the house being situated in Saum. That's a misspelling. It's supposed to be Song, S-U-O-N-G. Mr. Witness, I would like to confront you with something that was said by an upcoming witness, 2 TCW 1070. Mr. President, there is a bit of a situation in relation to the English transcript of document E3/10717, and that is there are about 10 missing pages which are translated. There is a French version, a complete French version, and there is, of course, a Khmer version. So I'll be reading from an English transcript which doesn't have ERN numbers yet, but I do have the French ERN and the Khmer ERN. It's a bit complicated, but I understand that ERNs are underway, English ERNs.
Juste une clarification. Qui a...
Just one clarification. Who did this transcription? The 10 pages that are missing in the version that is on record.
Yes. What happened is that we were triggered by the very last sentence in the English transcript of the upcoming witness's testimony. It says in E3/10717 on English ERN 01354-231, it says the end, sick, 10 more pages of Khmer. Then we contacted the translation unit, and it turned out that they had already translated those 10 pages, but haven't attributed any English ERNs. However, French is translated.
And for the record, you are quoting or planning to quote from an official translation?
Correct. Mr. Witness, in French ERN 013485564 and Khmer ERN 0134052 and 522. This other witness is testifying about Runim visiting the East Zone. And this is what he says, and let me read it to you. So when he came to the East, what places did he visit? Where did he mostly visit? Answer. He came to Tuol Prip and Samrong. Tuol Prip is Tuol and Prip Preab and Samrong Samranon. Question. He did not go to visit Song. Never. He never entered that place. Question. He only came to visit Tuol Prip and Samrong? Yes. So he came to Tuol Prip and Samrong to visit Ye Karo? Yes, because Ye Karo's place was there. Now, this witness is saying that Sopim never visited, Runim never visited Sopim in Song, S-U-O-N-G. However, you describe multiple visits in a house very close to Sung. Are you sure you saw Runim visiting Sopim in Song?
Yes, I once saw him. He made a visit at the location. He was there for a brief moment only.
This same witness is when he is describing Runim's visit, is saying on that same page that Runim would sleep over 2 or 3 nights. Is that something that you know as well?
He spent an overnight, as you said. I do not know about this. I do not respond to the question. My memory does not serve me well, and I may not have seen him on that occasion.
Fine. Let me move on, Mr. Witness. Last Thursday we briefly spoke about Nguyen Chia, and I read to you your DC Chem statement that Nguyen Chia came to sleep at your office locations 3 or 4 times. Of course, you knew him. You said he slept in Sung, and Nguyen Chia came pretty often. In addition to this, you said the following. I only saw that upon arrival. They hugged each other, all of them. When Nguyen Chia arrived at the location, he would go down and hug and shake hands. Is that something you recall saying?
I saw that usually the high-ranking officials met and hugged each other when they when they saw each other.
I understand. Let me refer you to an excerpt from a book written by a Cambodian journalist, Tet Sambat. And there's a chapter in there that describes the relationship between Nuon Chea and So Pim, document E3/4202, English ERN 007575535 and further, French 00849445 and further, and Khmer 00858353 and further. In this, the writer says that Nuon Chea and So Pim were very close, that So Pim was like a brother to Nuon Chea. There's a quote in there that says, where Nuon Chea says, "I loved him and he loved me. I was the closest to him because we used to struggle together and we took care of each other." It goes on a bit, but the gist of the excerpt is that So Pim and Nuon Chea were very close, very, very close to each other. Is that something that you were somehow able to observe, Mr. Witness?
I never knew about how close they were, but it happened as usual when they welcome each other. It's beyond my knowledge about other issue because it was their internal business.
I understand, but let me ask it differently. Did you see any difference in the way So Pim, your boss, was interacting with Nuon Chea as opposed to how he was interacting with other leaders coming from the center?
I was not aware of what they were discussing about. I only witnessed when he arrived because I was guarding outside. But as for the discussion topics, I was not aware of them.
A bit further in that chapter, English ERN 00757536, Khmer 00858355, and French 00849446. There's also a reference being made to the relation between Nuon Chea and Heng Samrin. It says, in May 78, one of the top military leaders in the Eastern Zone, Heng Samrin, who had been close to Nuon Chea and protected him during Brother Number's 2 visits to Pol Pot during the 60s, fled to Vietnam along with hundreds of other cadre. Mr. Witness, did you ever observe a meeting between Nuon Chea and Heng Samrin?
I chose not to answer this question because it was beyond my knowledge.
Am I to understand your answer as follows, that you never saw Nuon Chea when he was visiting So Pim interacting or meeting with Heng Samrin, or is it something that you just don't know?
I said earlier already that I witnessed he arrived, but I was not aware of what they were discussing about. Because the area where I was standing or guarding was far from the area that they were discussing.
That's fine, Mr. Witness. Let me move on to another subject. You mentioned in your statement a place called Kandol Chrum, Kandol Chrum, Chrum. Where was Kandol Chrum, and what was situated in Kandol Chrum?
Kandal Chrum was located to the east of Suong. It was just a small farmer's village. There was nothing important there, and the name of the village was called Kandal Chrum.
Were the military headquarters of Kpok close to Kandal Chrum?
I was not aware of the location of the headquarters. I only saw their forces patrolling the road when I used the road, but I had no idea where the headquarters was located.
Were you ever together with Sao Pim in Kandal Chrum? I was never based at Kandal Chrum. I only passed the area when I traveled. Do you know whether about 4 or 5 months, 6 months before So Pim killed himself, Vietnamese tanks had entered the territory of the East Zone. December 1977, tanks driving into the area close to Sung, trying to drive into Kandal Chrum. Is that something that you recall?
No, they did not enter Suong. They only arrived at Chencham commune, and Chencham commune is about 10 kilometers away from Suong. It's not near.
Very specifically, do you know anything about 2 Vietnamese tanks driving into Kandal Chrum on the 22nd of December 1977?
I did not know clearly about it.
Well, let me read to you what I'm specifically referring to, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, E3/1593, English ERN. It's Ben Kiernan's book. English ERN 011509194, French 00639154, Khmer 0063782627. And this is what Keenan describes using Hemsamin, Hemsamin, as his source, a very reliable source, if I might add. This is the quote. On 22 December, 2 Vietnamese tanks drove into Kandol Chrum township in an attempt to contact So Pim. Then they turned back towards the border. Inside the tanks, it appears, were several Khmer revolutionaries who had previously fled to Vietnam. Hun Sen, Hem Samin, and 8 others accompanied the Vietnamese forces on missions across different sections of the border. Samin managed to penetrate into Sai Ring province dressed in black with a squad of 10 bodyguards. End of quote. Mr. Witness, do you know anything about Khmer revolutionaries, former East Zone revolutionaries, East Zone cadres in Vietnamese tanks trying in December 1977 to contact your boss, the person you worked for, So Pim?
No, I was not aware of it. I only heard that there were foreign tanks, and I was not aware of the full details.
But in general, are you aware of any attempts of Vietnamese forces to make contact with East Zone forces in December 1977?
Allow me to answer. I did not know about it. I did not know about the internal political issues at that time.
Well, that's fine, Mr. Witness. One other question, and that is about a secret meeting in March 1978, led by So Pim in a village called Phao village, Phao, Phao village. Let me give you the reference, Mr. President. Again, Keenan's book, E3/1593. English ERN 011502203, Khmer 0063797, French 006397172. Quote, a woman from the Ponya Krek district office says that Pim called a secret meeting in Phao village in March 1978. I was serving the food for the leading cadres there, but I went in close and heard what was being said. Pim told them that the situation had now changed considerably, and the comrades should all take an interest. And a bit further, he told everyone to watch out, to be careful. End of quote. Mr. Witness, do you know anything about a secret meeting in March 1978, 2.5 months before So Pim died? Secret meeting in Phao village?
No, I did not know. Perhaps on that day I did not accompany him, because on some occasions I accompanied him, while others I did not go.
Do you know where Pa'au village is? I did not know that location clearly, and I could not locate it. Thank you, Mr. Witness. One or two final questions. Question of clarification. Last week you said that Sopim's brother Dul is the same person as Praktit. You said that Dul or Praktit was the district chief of Crouchmar district. Do you know whether Dul or Praktit also held a position at any point in time in Chlung district, Chloung, Chlung district?
I did not know clearly because he was based far from my place, and he occasionally came to visit me, and I was aware that he came from Krochma. For other thing else, I did not know.
And my very last question, Mr. Witness, brings me to the period before 1975. In your DC Cam statement, as of English ERN 013-53309, French 01345-473 and further, and Khmer 0134-0536, you talk quite extensively about the U.S. bombing, heavy U.S. bombing in your area. Do you recall testifying to this to the DC Cam interviewer?
Yes, there was bombing, but I did not recall the date. But there were a few bombings, I mean a few times of bombing.
You said that there was heavy bombing at the time. Whole families would be killed, and then you say specifically they died on the end of the village. They were killed. A lot of persons died during the war period. And then you refer to Taluk. All of Taluk's children and grandchildren were killed in Tabang village. End of quote. Is that something you remember saying, that this whole family got killed because of bombs dropped by U.S. warplanes?
Yes, I said so. But I did not say about the bombing from planes, but I said it's artillery bombing, and that artillery bombings hit some of the civilian targets and destroy houses of people. And I confirmed I said so.
That's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, now I give the floor to the co-prosecutor to put questions to the witness.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for coming, and please continue your practice of just telling us what you know, what you saw and heard, and if you don't know the answer, continue to tell us that you don't know the answer. And just so we have a little bit better idea of matters that you would be familiar with, you told us that you were recruited to the Defense Office of Sao Pim in about April or May of 1976. Can you explain exactly what the function of that defense office was?
The defense office was a place where he stayed, and for me, I performed the role as a guard. I did not have any other roles.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned your commander, if I'm correct, was Chuk. Who did Chuk report to? Were you under a division or a battalion, or did you report directly to someone else?
Chuk was my direct supervisor at the office. And when Sao Pim went somewhere, Chuk was the one who assigned the force to protect him.
Okay, so just to make sure that I'm clear, is it correct then that Chuk reported directly to Sao Pim?
Yes, Sao Pim told or ordered to Chuk, and Chuk reported back to him.
So I want to go back to something you had said last week. You were talking about the different divisions, and I believe you mentioned a Division 1, different divisions of the East Zone. The upcoming witness that Council's read to you several times from his statement, E3/10717, he said in Khmer at page 01340494, in French at 013485538, and in English at 013544194, that Division 1 had been handed over to Phnom Penh. And also in the book that Council referred to by the Australian historian Ben Kiernan, E3/1593, he says that in July 75, the Revolutionary Army of Cambodia had a ceremony where it was created in different zones, handed over their armed forces to the Central Committee. So do you know does that ring any bells with you? Was Division 1 or other forces from the East Zone transferred to a center army in 1975? I know that was before you arrived, but do you know anything about that?
I did not hear about this. I knew very little about this kind of affairs.
Okay, and so just so we understand that, is it then correct that your defense office was a bodyguard unit and not a combatant unit under one of the divisions? Your job was just to protect Sao Pim. Is that correct?
There was no division which was assigned to protect him. There was only my unit which were responsible for that.
And how many actual bodyguards, armed personnel, were there in your unit?
There were around 10 of us who were responsible for guarding, but there were also other staffs who were in charge of other tasks. For example, cooks or people who transported fertilizer to the paddy fields.
Was there a telegram unit located at the defense office? Telegraph, excuse me.
At that time, there was a kind of radio communication that were installed on vehicles, and I myself did not know how to use it.
Do you know of any code names that Sao Pim used when sending communications to the center? Do you know if he would use a code name rather than signing his own name?
I did not know as to whether he used any code name. I did not know about it, so I cannot give any answer about it. President, Mr. Witness, you had an obligation to give response to questions. If you know the answer, you give the answer. And if you don't know the answer, you say that you don't know the answer. Your statement will be, although you don't know, your statement will be treated as an answer. You cannot say that you choose not to answer. That's why I advise you to have a clear position regarding your answer. If you know, you say you know, and if you don't know, you say you don't know.
Okay, thank you. Sir, let me go back to something you have spoken about in court. You've said that, I believe, that Cape Pop would visit. And in your statement to DC Cam at English 013-53373, in Khmer at 0134-0575, and at French at 0134-5513, you said about K-Pop, he came often, he came throughout the time. You were asked for how many days he would come per time. You said sometimes he came once per week. And then you went on to say, when there were attacks on with Vietnam, when the Khmer Rouge were attacking the Vietnamese, K-Pop came here and remained here and only here. So my question is, first of all, can you explain what you mean about the time when the Khmer Rouge were attacking the Vietnamese?
There was the breakout of fighting and clashes, and I can confirm that there was really fighting taking place, but I cannot recall the date or the year.
Well, let's put it in some time frame in relation to the arrests of the East Zone cadre that you've talked about. Did the fighting with Vietnam happen before the arrests? Did it start before the arrests or during the arrests? Can you explain?
The fighting were still going on, and the arrests were also going on. There were the outbreak of fightings, and then there were also arrests.
Was Sao Pim involved in the fighting against the Vietnamese?
My defense unit were never deployed to the battlefield. Only those who were at the front line were engaged in fighting. Therefore, I was not aware of what was going on at the battlefield.
Did you ever visit the battlefields or visit the commanders just behind the battlefields with Sao Pim?
I never went.
When you spoke about the arrests of East Zone cadre, first of all, let me break this up into two time periods. Arrests before Sao Pim went to Phnom Penh and then eventually killed himself after being turned back at Phnom Penh, and arrests after Sao Pim's trip to Phnom Penh. Before the trip to Phnom Penh that you took with Sao Pim, had East Zone cadre been arrested?
Yes, there were many cadres arrested before Sao Pim went to Phnom Penh.
It seemed the witness was speaking after the interpreter stopped the English, so I'm not sure if we missed any of his answer. Maybe the microphone was off. So let me just make sure when you answer that the red light is on. Sir, were any of those East Zone cadre who were arrested people, Khmers, who had been fighting against the Vietnamese? And perhaps counsel could pull the microphone a little closer to the witness. He's speaking softly. Perhaps the court usher.
President, I believe that the distance between the witness and the microphone is okay for him to speak. Witness, the question is not clear. Could you repeat it?
Before Sao Pim's trip to Phnom Penh to meet the leadership that you went with him on, you said that cadre from the East Zone had been arrested. Were any of those Khmer soldiers who'd been fighting against Vietnam, were they among those arrested?
They were arrested. No matter where they were from, as long as they were within the East Zone, they were targeted to be for the arrest. Whether they were civil officials or cadres, they were all arrested. They were arrested for education, but I myself did not know where they were sent to.
Did you ever see them again, or did they disappear?
I never saw them back. They disappeared from that time onwards. For me, I fled back to my birthplace. We separated from one another from that time onwards. That's all I can say.
Well, I'm going to come to your trip to Phnom Penh with Sao Pim. I think that's very important. You haven't been given a chance to speak about that yet. But just before we go to that, I just want to finish a few other things. Chuk, you told us about your supervisor, your boss, Chuk. What happened to him? Can you explain to us?
Before I had left for Phnom Penh, in fact, Chua had been arrested one day before I left for Phnom Penh. That's all I can say.
Do you know what happened? Why was he arrested?
I do not know the reason he was arrested because I was not with him. He disappeared, so it is my assumption that he was arrested. That's all I can say.
In your statement to DC CAM, you went into a little bit more detail, and I'd like to read that to you. And this is on page, in English, 01353, 339. In Khmer, it's 01340, 555. And in French, 01345. 492. He said once when there were arrests, this Chuk went to resolve things, and they also arrested Chuk. Everyone who entered there with a vehicle or motorbike seen to have an East plate was arrested, without exception anywhere, tied up, killed, and disposed of. They arrested them, tied them up, and killed them. No sooner had Chuk entered there to resolve things than they beat him to death and dumped him into a well. Is this something, Mr. Witness, that you heard or observed? Or did someone tell you that?
The war ended in 1979 and 1980. I went through that village and I was told that after Chuk had come, those people were smashed into a well. Villagers at the location wept when they saw me. They wept because they saw me alive after the regime. I learned that information from villagers. That's all from me.
Thank you. That's helpful. You said that Chuk went to resolve things. Can you explain what you meant by that?
I meant that he went to resolve the case for one case, that is John's case, who went to repair a vehicle. That repairman, John, was arrested, and Chu went to resolve that case, and when Chu arrived, Chu was also arrested. I learned this information from villagers in 1979 and 1980, and for interpreter, Chu. And I believe there is a mispronunciation of Chu, not Chu. There is the different, they are two different names, Chu and Chu.
Did you learn who it was that was killing Juak and John and others?
I do not know about that.
Well, do you know if they were forces from the East Zone or from another armed force?
They were from the southwest and the center. They went to the location to arrest people. That's all.
Let me ask you a few questions about Sao Pim. Now, did you know what his position was in the center?
I did not know his position in the center. All I know is that he was the head of the zone.
Did you ever hear of the Standing Committee?
I rarely heard about the so-called Standing Committee. It is I'm not sure, in fact, so I would like to say that I do not know about it.
Okay, thank you. When you went with Sao Pim to Phnom Penh, where did you go with him? Where would he go?
Before I went up to Phnom Penh with Sao Pim, I was told that I had to go to Phnom Penh with him, but we did not arrive at Phnom Penh, the central town of Phnom Penh at the time. We were on the other side of Phnom Penh. Messengers were arrested, and I arrived at a house in a plantation at the time.
Okay, I think you're talking about your final trip with Sao Pim to Phnom Penh. And so we don't get interrupted, I think I will deal with that after the break. So before the break, which will be soon, I just wanted to ask you about Sao Pim's trips before the time that he tried to go to Phnom Penh and then ended up committing suicide. So during the years after 76 and 77 and the early part of 78, when you were working with him, how often would he travel to Phnom Penh?
As for the frequency of his trips, I cannot recall well. He went to Phnom Penh 3 or 4 times, to my recollection, and how frequent he traveled to Phnom Penh regarding this matter, I am not quite sure.
In your statement to DC Cam at page in Khmer 013-40559, in French 013-45498, and in English 013-53348, you said that he went about twice a month. Is that correct, that you would go with him, or one of the other bodyguards would go with him to Phnom Penh about twice a month?
Sometimes I accompanied him, and others were on duty on some other occasion. It was not always me. It depended on the assignment, who would be assigned for him at one specific time. President, thank you, Mr. Witness. It is now the break time. The chamber will take a break from now until 10:30. Court officer, please assist the witness in the waiting room during the break time, and please invite him back together with the duty counsel at 10:30. The court's now in recess.